Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolute roller coaster that is the Internet Computer Protocol, or ICP. We're talking about a devastating 99% market crash right out of the gate, followed by, honestly, a pretty shocking technological rebirth. It's this wild story of incredible ambition, massive wealth destruction, and now a deeply complex attempt at redemption. Let's get right into it. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the grand vision and the crash, then look inside the 2021 controversy. After that, we'll dive into the tech keeping it alive, explore Mission 7D and AI, and finally wrap up with the future outlook and risks. All right, part one, the grand vision and crash, a multi-billion-dollar wipeout. So, let's take it back to the launch in May 2021. The hype was completely off the charts. On listing day, the ICP token peaked at around $730. I mean, for a brief moment there, it was standing right behind Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're talking about a market cap rivaling massive titans like MasterCard and PayPal. But that glory was incredibly short-lived. Just weeks later, the price violently crashed down to around $30. According to a forensic report by Arkham Intelligence, this wipeout erased hundreds of billions of dollars in fully diluted value. 99%. That's the crucial number you need to remember here. This wasn't just your standard crypto market correction. This was literally one of the most drastic drops in financial history. It left everyday retail investors absolutely crushed. And as you'd expect, it raised some serious questions about how a collapse of that magnitude could happen so fast. Which brings us to Section 2, Inside the 2021 Controversy, Allegations of Insider Dumping. To figure out what triggered that crash, we have to look at how the initial tokens were handed out. And well, the Arkham Intelligence report highlights a massive, glaring discrepancy. The everyday seed supporters, the early backers who actually helped fund the project, they were locked into a strict 4-year token vesting schedule. But on the flip side, the DFINITY Foundation, who controls the project's treasury, they reportedly had 0 vesting limits on their massive chunk of tokens. And Arkham's blockchain analysis uncovered some pretty startling data to back that up. They found that a staggering 75% of total ICP exchange deposits right around the launch came directly from the Treasury and suspected insiders. To put that in perspective, that is roughly $3.6 billion worth of tokens just flooding into exchanges like Coinbase and Binance. Now, DFINITY has pushed back hard against the lawsuits from this period, but the on-chain data definitely points to some massive selling pressure from the top. Meanwhile, as billions of dollars were flowing to exchanges from the Treasury, those early seed investors were basically trapped. Arkham's report notes that the process for early supporters to just claim their tokens was a total nightmare. It was full of highly technical instructions, critical bugs, and hardware limitations. Actually, it was practically impossible to execute if you were on a Windows PC or one of the newer Apple M1 chips. So, seed investors were stuck watching the price absolutely plummet while trying to navigate this insane technical maze just to access their own assets. All right, let's pivot to Section 3, the tech keeping it alive, the phoenix from the ashes. So, here's the plot twist. Despite the disastrous market performance and the massive cloud of controversy, the network didn't just fade away. DFINITY actually kept their heads down and kept building at a really astonishing pace. In fact, today they frequently rank second globally in GitHub developer commits. One of their major breakthroughs is something called chain fusion. This is wild. It allows ICP smart contracts to directly manage native assets on other blockchains, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, completely bypassing those vulnerable cross-chain bridges. Because of this, ICP's CKBTC token has quietly become the 4th most actively used Bitcoin derivative out there. But what's truly fascinating to me is how they've transformed the network into this sovereign cloud capable of doing something very few blockchains can do, natively running artificial intelligence. ICP can run AI inference models directly on-chain, right inside smart contracts. And because it offers end-to-end data encryption, not even the node providers can see your data. Plus, they're doing all this at a cost that's over 20% cheaper than traditional cloud giants like Palantir. It's a real game changer for decentralized tech. They've also tackled one of crypto's biggest headaches, which is the user experience. They use what's called a reverse gas model. Essentially, the developers pay for the computing power up front. This means you and I can interact with decentralized apps without ever needing to go buy tokens or install clunky plugin wallets. They've even integrated Internet Identity 2.0, so you can log into apps seamlessly using just your smartphone's fingerprint or facial recognition. It's basically a smooth Web 2 experience, but with Web 3 trustlessness. Moving on to Section 4,
Mission 70, and AI, the deflationary surgery.
Now, as we all know, having great tech doesn't automatically fix a bleeding token economy. So, to address the long-standing criticism of token dilution, DFINITY rolled out a radical new tokenomics plan called Mission 70. You can think of this as a massive fiscal austerity bill. The main goal here is to slash the token's inflation rate by up to 70% by late 2026. They're starting off by aggressively cutting node provider payouts and governance voting rewards. That alone is dropping inflation from 9.72% down to roughly 5.42% almost immediately, with the ultimate target of pushing it well under 3%.
But here's the thing. You can't just cut supply, right? You have to create real demand. To do that, they launched Caffeine. It's an AI platform that effectively creates a self-writing internet. Literally, anyone can build full-stack on-chain apps just by typing natural language prompts. But the true economic genius of this is under the hood. Every single time these AI models and applications run, they require computing power. And that compute is paid for by constantly burning ICP tokens, converting them into what they call cycles.
And you know what? We're already starting to see the effects of this burn mechanism. 18,728, that is the exact amount of ICP recently burned in a single week. That's one of the highest burn rates we've recorded in recent history for the entire network. It's a huge signal that the demand-side pressure of Mission 70 is moving from just theoretical white papers into actual real-world usage. Because remember, as more AI compute runs on the internet computer, more ICP is permanently removed from circulation forever. All right, let's wrap things up with Section 5, Future Outlook and Risks, the Pragmatic Reality Check. Let's step back for a second and look at the actual market outlook, balancing this incredibly ambitious tech roadmap against, well, current financial realities. With recent prices fluctuating down in the low single digits, analysts over at GateWiki project a base case reaching somewhere around $4.67 to $8 by the end of the decade. Now, optimistic scenarios push that up toward the $20 mark, but downside risks warn prices could just remain suppressed around $2.50 to $4. Obviously, these long-term projections depend entirely on DFINITY executing their roadmap flawlessly. Because, let's be honest, right now the network faces some severe headwinds. We have to impartially note that despite all this impressive underlying code we just talked about, ICP severely lags behind its competitors when it comes to actual user traffic. The numbers are pretty stark. Their decentralized finance total value locked is hovering at only about $16 million, and they have roughly 7,000 daily active users. On top of that, the legal ghosts from its 2021 launch are still playing out in the courts, which creates this persistent trust deficit in the market. And if you are navigating this highly volatile asset, or honestly any crypto asset, it is absolutely vital to remember the reality of the broader market structure. According to an analysis shared on Binance Square, 70 to 89% of retail traders lose money on crypto leverage platforms. Exchanges are known for featuring manipulative trading patterns like sudden algorithmic wicks and fake liquidity, explicitly designed to hunt stop losses and liquidate retail traders. So please, extreme caution is always required. And that brings us to the ultimate question to wrap up this explainer. You've seen the staggering depths of that 99% crash and the serious allegations of insider dumping. But on the flip side, you've also seen the undeniable reality of an active developer ecosystem building a self-writing internet powered by on-chain AI and a massive deflationary reset. So what do you think? Can this sheer technological ambition finally break the curse and overshadow a multi-billion-dollar collapse? We've given you the data straight from the sources. Now it's up to you to decide. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.